Hello, good evening.
Hello?
Hey, Fatima.
Okay, can you hear me? Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead and try to share your screen. Yeah, close the door.
Host disabled participant. Oh, you disabled participant screen sharing.
Okay, hold on. I think the only one that needs to share is you.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna make you a co-host. Make co-host. Do you want Fatima to be a co-host in this meeting? Yes. Okay, so try now.
Let me see. Oh, wrong one. Disregard that.
Perfect. You can.
Yeah, okay.
Perfect.
All right, let me just have the presentation up and running.
Yeah. Do you know how to do it?
Yeah, I'm going through my Google Drive there.
Oh, okay.
Remember?
Hi, everyone. So it looks like we have all panelists, so
Yeah.
no attendees yet, so we'll wait a little bit longer.
I like that.
So I'll do the introduction or the welcome, and then we'll, Debbie, you go next, right?
Yeah, she does.
Yes, I'm after you.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. We're going to wait a few more minutes until we get a few more attendees. We're going to probably wait a couple of more minutes before we get started. Thank you in advance for joining us. Again, we're just going to wait a couple more minutes before we get started with our presentations. Thank you. All right, okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna go ahead and get started. We wanted to wait a few more minutes so we can get some more attendees, but we're just gonna go ahead and get started in order to respect everybody's time. Good evening, welcome again. My name is Guillermo Lopez and I'm the proud principal of Selma High School. We have a great event planned for you guys. We wanted to make sure that we provided some different resources to you guys, to all of our community members. I say you guys, meaning all of us, our students, parents, and due to our current COVID situation, we've been having quite a few instances where students and even some of our own staff members have share their their experiences during these times with not necessarily only academically or work, but also just as far as the way they're feeling and just because of the times that we're experiencing right now with this being having to work remotely or having our students not be able to attend school and be able to socialize. So we were able to, fortunately, we were able to actually reach out to a lot of our community members, a lot of our community folks that provide different resources, not necessarily only academically, but also for mental health. And we wanted to, be able to provide those resources to you guys, but also be able to allow them to share with you the different programs and access that they have available. So we have a mixture of academic services, but as well as mental health and other services available that are within the community, thanks to our partnership. So next up, we're going to have Ms. Richardson, one of our assistant principals. She's going to go ahead and get started with additional information. Thank you and welcome.
Hello, and thank you for attending our Wellness and Success webinar. My name is Deborah Richardson, and I'm the assistant principal of Selma High School, and I'm also the Tier 3 chair. And for those of you that may not know, Tier 3 supports are the highest levels of supports on our campus. The Tier 3 team gets together monthly, and in an effort to see how we might better support our students and families. And this webinar is the brainchild of our Tier 3 team. And we saw a need for parents and students to have access to information that could be useful to them. And so we invited outside agencies to join us in the webinar, as well as our own programs on campus. And this website from which you access this webinar will continue to be accessible to students and parents in the future as part of our Selma High School website. Through that website, information and links to programs and services will remain readily available to students and parents when they need it. If you have any questions for presenters, please type them in the chat and we'll answer them at the end of the presentation.
Okay, yo soy la señorita Vázquez. Voy a traducir la información que dijo la subdirectora, la señora Richardson. Les está diciendo a todos gracias por asistir esta noche a este seminario web de bienestar y éxito. Y ella es la encargada del equipo nivel 3 aquí en Selma High School. Para aquellos de ustedes que no lo sepan, los apoyos de nivel 3 son los niveles más altos de apoyo en nuestro campus. El equipo de nivel 3 se reúne mensualmente en un esfuerzo para ver cómo pueden apoyar mejor a los estudiantes y las familias. Este seminario web es una creación de ese equipo, el nivel 3, que vio la necesidad en estos tiempos de hacer algo, ¿verdad? Para poder ayudar a los padres, los hijos que tengan éxito y que tengan acceso a la información y que sea útil para ustedes. Como tal, hemos invitado a agencias externas para que se unan a esta presentación y hablen acerca de sus programas que ellos tienen. El sitio web desde el que accedió a este seminario usted será siguiendo estar ahí en el sitio web de la escuela para que puedan tener acceso para los estudiantes y los padres en el futuro. Siempre lo vamos a tener allí en el sitio web del Selma High. A través de ese sitio web, la información y los enlaces a los programas y los servicios que ofrecen estarán disponibles para todos. Si tiene algunas preguntas, puede escribirlas en el chat y las vamos a contestar al final de esta presentación.
Next slide, please. So Mrs. Reed, our senior learning director this year, was unfortunately unable to attend and present at the webinar. So I'll go ahead and fill in her place and speak about academics now. So what we have on the screen is the requirements for graduation at Selma High School. Many of you have seen this previously and other presentations that we've done. So I'm not going to go into depth here, but just know that you need 40 credits of English, 20 credits of math, 20 credits of science, 30 credits of history and social science, 10 credits of arts, 20 credits of PE, and 80 credits of electives for a total graduation credit of 220. So that's what's needed for a regular diploma.
Okay. Aquí tenemos los requisitos para una diploma de Selma High School. En total son 220. Para inglés ocupan 40 créditos, matemáticas 20, ciencias 20, historia serían 30, artes 10, la educación física 20 créditos, o sea 2 años. Y de clases que los alumnos pueden elegir, ellos pueden, tienen que obtener 80 créditos. Y llegamos a un total de mínimo de 220 y, con que cumplan todos los requisitos aquí en la pantalla.
Next slide, please. So what you're seeing here now is the credit schedule. So at the beginning of each grade level, to be on track to graduate, students that are entering the 10th grade will need 60 credits. Students entering the 11th grade need 120 credits, and students entering the 12th grade should have 180 credits.
Aquí tenemos se puede decir que el horario de los créditos, cuántos necesitan tener los alumnos para estar al corriente y en camino a recibir su diploma ya cuando se gradúen. Al principio del grado 10 deben de ya tener completados 60 créditos. Cuando entran al grado 11, 120. Y en el último año aquí en la high school se requieren que tengan el mínimo 180 créditos para que ya puedan obtener esos 220 y van a recibirse en junio.
Next slide. What you're seeing here is our credit recovery schedule. So we've begun credit recovery this week. We did put it off. It did start tonight as opposed to Monday to give our teachers a little bit extra time to prepare. So you'll see that these are times where our students that are credit deficient can make up credits. So if some of you have students that are credit deficient, you could check with your learning director to see if there's a spot available for the student, your student in those credit recovery classes. They are held from 3:30 to 6:30 in the evenings every night except for, Friday. And then on Tuesday, there's a class that starts from 4 to 7 to accommodate those that maybe need a later start time.
Ok, aquí en la pantalla vemos información importante para los alumnos que necesitan recuperar créditos. Vemos que, bueno, iba a empezar el lunes, pero dice la señora Richardson que hoy es la primera noche donde van a tener estas clases. Y todos los días se ofrecen clases, solamente los viernes no. Y estas clases casi son para los alumnos del grado 11 y 12 porque es cuando ellos necesitan ya para tener todos los créditos casi completados. Si usted no está seguro, piensa que su alumno necesita repasar, retomar una materia, contacte al director de aprendizaje para que ellos les puedan informar si es requerido que su hijo tome uno de estos cursos.
Next slide. So how can a student be successful during distance learning? So students need to log into their classes every day. They need to communicate with their teachers via chat or email, particularly if they're behind on assignments or they need some help. They need to actively participate and give their best effort and always ask questions. They should log in during teachers' office hours if they need help and ask for that help. And if they're too nervous to ask questions during the class, those are perfect times for them to be able to talk to their teacher and get some help. Additionally, they should communicate with their learning director, and they can help them also get on track. And they should also take advantage of enrichment, which we're going to hear about in just a minute, and also the expanded learning.
Aquí vemos cómo pueden, ¿verdad?, tener éxito durante este horario de aprendiendo, ¿verdad?, de distancia, el horario que tenemos. Los alumnos necesitan meterse a las clases a través de la computadora e internet todos los días. Hay clases todos los días. Comunicarse con los maestros a través del chat o el correo electrónico. También participar activamente en la clase, hacer lo mejor que puedan y hacer preguntas también es algo bueno. Cuando los maestros tienen sus horas de oficina, ellos pueden contactar al maestro y pedir ayuda. Pueden también comunicarse con nosotros, los consejeros. Yo soy la consejera de los alumnos del grado 9 y cada año del grado 10, 11, 12, todos tienen un consejero para que puedan hablar y pedir ayuda. Y también que aprovechen del programa de enriquecimiento que tenemos y de el programa que va a empezar, Expanded Learning, era como el programa después de clases que va a ser virtual este año.
Next slide. So how can parents support their students at home? So demonstrating a positive attitude about education to the children is very important. Don't dwell on COVID. That only creates possibly more anxiety. Make sure you monitor your child's internet use. Your child may be saying, oh, I'm online, but they might be online, but they may not be on the class. So encourage your child to complete their assignments and homework. If you can help them, that's great. If not, contact the teacher so the teacher can provide extra support. Provide a quiet place to do the homework and assignments. I know that's often hard in some of our households, but it gives a chance for the students to actually think deeply about what they're working on. And then if they need help, encourage them to attend those teacher office hours and help them get organized.
Okay. Aquí hablamos de cómo los padres pueden ayudar en casa con sus alumnos y la escuela. Que si ustedes tienen una actitud positiva, eso va a ayudarles a sus hijos para que también sean optimistas. Y tratar de no ver mucho o hablar del COVID, del virus, ya que sabemos que esa pandemia sigue mucho en las noticias, pero hay que enfocarnos en lo bueno y lo positivo para que ellos salgan adelante. También si pueden monitorear cuánto tiempo usan el internet. Sabemos que deben de estar usando el internet todos los días mientras están en las clases, pero que no lo sigan usando muchísimo, ¿verdad? Queremos que ustedes chequen eso para que puedan ver si sí están haciendo la tarea con el internet. También si les puede dar buenos consejos de que terminen sus trabajos, las tareas, animarlos. Y en la casa, si es posible, tener allí un lugar donde es pacífico, silencioso, que ellos puedan hacer el trabajo que les dan los maestros, pueden estudiar. Sabemos que es difícil ahorita, ya que muchas personas están trabajando desde la casa, pero si es posible buscar o crear un lugar para que los alumnos puedan, ¿verdad?, hacer sus trabajos y enfocarse. También ayuda si ellos van a las horas de oficinas. Es bueno que ustedes como padres les digan, aquí hay ayuda, necesitan pedir la ayuda porque los maestros están disponibles. Y ayudarlos para que se organicen y se preparen para las clases.
Next slide. And then as far as checking students' academic progress, the Aries Parent Portal is a great place to do that. If you need IT help, you're having problems accessing the parent portal, you can contact your learning director. That's a great start. But for actual IT problems with connectivity, the IT department, we have the number listed there, and this will be available on the website later.
Ok. Aquí tenemos información del portal de los padres de calificaciones que se llama Aries. Cada estudiante tiene un portal y ellos pueden fijarse en sus calificaciones. También ustedes como padres pueden tener una cuenta de estas creadas si es que no la tienen ya. Yo he hablado con las personas que trabajan aquí en el Distrito de Tecnología y me proveyeron ese número de teléfono si necesitan ayuda con algo de la tecnología. También nosotros como consejeros les podemos ayudar a crear ese portal. También me comunicaron que ellos del distrito hablan español y les pueden ayudar a crear este portal si llaman a ese número allí debajo en la pantalla.
Next slide. And now Mrs. Angela Mares, SPED Department Chair, is going to speak to you about special education services on campus.
Aquí la señora Mares va a hablar de educación especial aquí en Selma High School.
Thank you very much. My name is Angela Mares. I am the special ed department chair, and I am one of the 8 special ed teachers at Selma High School. At Selma High, we have several different options for our students. We have some students that receive a certificate of completion. So they are in classes with our special day teachers that service them in their English and their math and social skills. We also have students that receive a high school diploma, and those students are in core subjects. So they would be going into core math, English, science, but they receive 1 period of service with an RSP, a resource teacher, and they receive services as far as academic help. They could receive services as transition help into college. They can learn more about careers and other options that they have after high school. Our students who are in special ed, it's not something that they can just sign up for. You do have to qualify for special ed, and that is required by law. And those that do meet the eligibility have an IEP, an individual educational plan.
Okay. Aquí yo voy a traducir la información que nos dijo la señora Mares. Ella es la encargada del Departamento de Educación Especial aquí en Selma High School. Ha dicho que hay 8 maestros de educación especial aquí en el campus. Ella es una de ellas. Y explicó 2 diferentes caminos que tenemos para todos los alumnos aquí. Hay 2 caminos y los senderos, se puede decir. Uno de ellos es para los alumnos que van a recibirse con un certificado de haber terminado aquí Selma High School. Esos estudiantes están en las clases de educación especial todo el día. Esos maestros están con ellos, les enseñan las clases de inglés, matemáticas y destrezas sociales para que ellos puedan, ¿verdad?, salir adelante, aprender más, comunicarse con otras personas. También el otro sendero es para las personas, los estudiantes que van a recibirse con un diploma de Selma High School. También ellos sí tienen que obtener los 220 créditos. Los otros alumnos del certificado no necesitan cumplir con los 220 créditos. Esa es la diferencia. Los estudiantes que sí están en camino para recibir su diploma, ellos están tomando las clases que se les requiere, como inglés, matemáticas, las clases de ejercicio, ciencias. Cada año se les dan esas clases hasta que ya reúnan los requisitos. También ellos tienen un periodo de transiciones, que es una clase, un periodo donde maestros como la señora Mares les ayudan a los alumnos individualmente, les dan más apoyo. Si los alumnos necesitan ayuda con algo, pueden contactar al maestro durante ese periodo. Y les ayudan no solamente en lo académico, pero hablan del futuro, carreras, que es lo que ellos planean hacer ya que se reciban de Selma High School. Para poder ser parte del programa de educación especial, necesitan calificar. Entonces, no es algo que los alumnos pueden decir, ah, yo me quiero meter a este programa. Es algo que necesitan hacer exámenes y poder calificar. Es un proceso. Y eso es requerido por ley, que necesitan que calificar para los servicios de educación especial.
Next slide. And now, Mrs. Sherry Carrasco, teacher on special assignment, is going to talk about enrichment and tutorial.
Okay. La maestra Carrasco, ella es la maestra con una asignatura especial este año. Va a hablarnos del programa de enriquecimiento y cómo funciona este año aquí virtualmente.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. Thank you so much for being here tonight. My name is Sherry Carrasco, and I am in charge of our enrichment and intervention program. I'm very happy and so thankful to our staff and our administration. We have worked hard to maintain this program over the past 6 years or so, and even during distance learning, we have it. So parents and guardians here and students that have joined us, here is what you need to know. Every single Monday, right now, every Monday, periods 1 through 6, teachers are providing intervention time for students. So if your students need that additional academic support, that's what Monday is for. It is the primary purpose of Monday, all 6 periods for 35 minutes at a time. Depending upon the needs of the class, some of our teachers, like our AP teachers, some of our career pathway teachers, our elective teachers are extending students' educations with enrichments on Mondays. So please know your child could be a part of either intervention or enrichment, depending upon what the needs of the class are. But do know that the whole point of every single Monday on our campus is to provide your student with additional academic support for 35 minutes for all 6 periods. So please know that. If you feel your child needs it and for some reason isn't getting it, please contact myself or your child's teacher, and we will get you whatever help we can. Our students are very, very important to us. And also know that our teachers have office hours Tuesday through Friday. All teachers have them Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and this is additional time in which teachers are reaching out to students who definitely need the additional academic support. So if your child is struggling or just needs help with an assignment, we've got the Mondays, and we also have Tuesday through Friday. And Mrs. Anguiano, if you can go to the next slide, please. Thank you so much. Parents, the gist of this, take a look at that. I've circled for you in blue. That is all the time that we have for intervention. And so it's a nice chunk of time that we have been able to establish for our campus. So please know that Mondays and then those office hours, great time to reach out to those teachers. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Okay, si podemos regresar a la hoja donde tenía la información la señora Carrasco. Yo voy a traducir esta información. Ella, como les digo, es la encargada del programa de enriquecimiento. Ella está muy contenta y agradecida que seguimos con este programa. Ya estamos en el 6º año y hemos tenido éxito y lo seguimos manteniendo a través de este año virtualmente. Y el horario es los lunes. Ella explicó de los lunes que hay 6 periodos. Ese es el único día donde es requerido que sus hijos se metan a todas las clases. 6 periodos, 35 minutos, para que puedan obtener más ayuda si es que necesitan apoyo académico, ¿verdad? Dependiendo de las calificaciones de los alumnos y cuánta ayuda ocupen. Ellos necesitan participar, hacer preguntas, completar los trabajos. En ese día, los lunes, no se les va a enseñar nada nuevo. Es un día para que ellos puedan seguir agarrando ayuda. También vemos las horas de la oficina, que de los maestros, los martes y jueves, periodos 1, 2 y 3. Ese es el horario. Ahí la hora que están disponibles los maestros es de 2:40 a 3:15. Si tienen clases ellos los miércoles y viernes, eso es cuando deben de comunicarse con el maestro a través de correo electrónico o de una sesión de Zoom o el Google Meet para que puedan conectarse con el maestro. Y también las horas de oficina es lo mismo. Vamos a seguir a la próxima. Y aquí ella enseñó el horario. Todos deben de tener este horario, los alumnos, a los padres se les ha mandado por correo, inclusive correo electrónico. Entonces, otra vez, si prestamos ahí atención, los lunes tienen que meterse cada periodo 35 minutos para obtener ayuda. Y luego los demás días se van turnando de los periodos, los primeros 3 y los otros 3 van alternando los días. Pero ya los alumnos ya saben cómo funciona esto, pero para que ustedes también como padres sepan cómo es que está, ¿verdad?, funcionando ahorita el horario para los alumnos. Vamos a seguir.
And now Miss Alyssa Clements will discuss library services on campus.
Okay. La señora Clements va a hablar de los servicios de la biblioteca y yo también voy a seguir traduciendo.
Welcome, everybody. I'm honored to be here, and I want to talk a little bit about library services throughout Selma Unified and also at Selma High School. We recognize that for a lot of our kids, the library is a place where they hang out when they're on campus before school and after school and at lunchtime and during their breaks. And so the library is probably something that a lot of kids are missing. And so the library staff in Selma Unified has worked very hard this year to offer virtual library services. So if you have students at other sites, they probably have access to a Google Library Classroom. Here at Selma High School, we have a virtual library, but each site is offering book clubs, open library hours, and then we also are still offering book checkout. And we have a service called Book Hub. So if you go to the next slide. Oh, I should let Nancy go first.
Ok, voy a traducir la información que acaba de decirnos la señorita Clemens. Ella es una de las bibliotecarias aquí del distrito y trabaja aquí en nuestro campus en la high school. Está diciendo que todas las bibliotecas en el distrito están ofreciendo algún servicio de las bibliotecas virtualmente. Para saber más de esas actividades, ustedes pueden visitar el aula virtual del Google, de la biblioteca de sus alumnos, o en inglés, ¿verdad?, que sería el Virtual Library, bibliotecaria virtual. Pueden aprender de diferentes clubes de los libros, saber cuándo es que está abierta la biblioteca y las personas que trabajan allí, el horario de ellas, pueden sacar libros allí electrónicamente y también aquí en persona a veces vienen alumnos para recoger libros y otro programa del Book Hub que tenemos aquí disponible para los alumnos.
Thank you. Okay, so if we go over, okay, so this next slide talks about Book Hub, and this allows students to continue to check out books from their school library. So they can request books, and then we have been using the bus drivers in our district to deliver the books and drop them off to various drop-off spots, and we've even done home deliveries this year. So that's something that we have offered so that students can continue, like I said, to check out books and have that connection with our library.
Okay, el programa de Book Hub ya nos los explicó la bibliotecaria Clemens. Esto es algo nuevo, ¿verdad? Inclusive yo no había sabido de esto. Este es un horario que tenemos aquí para llevar los libros a la casa. Los señores que conducen los camiones de la escuela, ellos llevan los libros que los alumnos sacan a la casa. Pueden ellos virtualmente en el internet pedir un libro y luego los que conducen los camiones, ellos van y los llevan en diferentes áreas designadas aquí de Selma para dejar los libros o también pueden recoger los libros y llevarlos a las escuelas. Y ahí vemos que tenemos, ¿verdad?, una página para que sepan más información o cómo los alumnos es que pueden pedir esos libros si le hacen clic allí en el enlace.
So for our students at Selma High School, it's as easy as filling out a Google form, and then we just let them know that their order has been filled and it gets delivered to their house. So this slide talks about our virtual library here at Selma High School, and we offer a variety of services. If you go to our SUSD library website for the district, you can click on Selma High School and you'll see this bear icon that takes kids to our virtual library. Fatima, can you click on that for me? There should be a link. So this is our virtual library. It has our library hours set up. We just recently adjusted them, so we are online with students every day at lunchtime now. And then we do an hour each afternoon from 1:45 to 2:45. And so there's a variety of services that we offer students. So when they meet with us online, they will meet with either myself or one of my library techs. And this is an opportunity for them to ask questions, or they can chat with us. Or when we have a group of kids, we try to do an organized activity, like maybe a virtual scavenger hunt. Or yesterday we played the game Headbands with the kids. So we try to keep them engaged and give them an opportunity to interact with each other and with the staff. We offer a monthly gift card giveaway for students who participate in activities in our virtual library. I have a book club that meets on Thursdays at lunchtime. And so there's a link with information on our book club. The link where it says library books takes them to the Google form so that they can do a checkout. It also gives them information about Book Hub. They can look to see about how to find books in our library, either ebooks or physical books in our library. So there's lots of different links. There's also information about the little free libraries around Selma. We have 12 of them that are in people's yards and on some of our school campuses. So there's lots of ways for students to access books. I'll go ahead and let you translate that for me.
Sí, allí presentó la señora Clemens del diferente horario. Si podemos regresar a la tercera parte de la presentación, así puedo ver la información y les puedo decir exactamente lo que está diciendo ella. Estaba hablando básicamente de que tienen un sitio, ¿verdad? Ellos aquí en la escuela para que los alumnos puedan hacerle clic y se puedan meter. Aquí está el sitio, el enlace. Si le hacen clic allí, la señorita Anguiano le puede hacer clic allí otra vez en el oso. El oso los lleva a la página de la escuela de la biblioteca. Y ahí ven información de las personas que trabajan aquí, la señora Clement, la señora Nieto y la señora Esparza. Tiene información de ellas, el horario de la biblioteca, cuando están abiertos. Algo nuevo que yo aprendí es que están abiertos durante la hora del almuerzo de los alumnos. Y eso es bueno para que ellos puedan pedir ayuda, puedan hacer preguntas, si es que las tienen, pueden decir que necesitan un libro, y allí también dan información de un club que tienen de los libros, que los jueves se reúnen y pueden hablar de diferentes libros, diferentes recursos que hay para los alumnos allí en la biblioteca. Entonces hay muchísima información allí en ese enlace si sus hijos le hacen clic allí.
We also have other services such as makerspace activities that we try to change out monthly, so students can request supplies and materials, and we can also have those delivered to their door. We have links to other games and activities, like right now we have virtual pumpkin carving. They can go on and create their own digital comic strips. So there's other activities on the website that students can engage in as well. There's links for them to access databases if they need to do research. And then they can also go on to Scholastic and order books to have delivered to their house. So we're trying to provide lots of different opportunities to students to engage with us and also just participate in library activities.
Entonces también dijo que hay otras cosas que ellos están haciendo para que puedan brindarle a los estudiantes servicios como que si estuvieran aquí en el campus, ya que no pueden venir en persona. Hay diferentes cosas que pueden ellos hacer para que sigan participando en la biblioteca y los servicios que proveen. Inclusive les dan materiales y los alumnos piden ciertos materiales para que se los lleven hasta la casa. Es posible que alguien que se los lleve y se los traiga allí al domicilio. También han hecho, ya que estamos en la temporada ¿verdad? Que estamos ahorita ya en octubre, es el otoño, y el Halloween, que es el 31 de octubre, estaban haciendo algo con calabazas, una actividad donde están decorándolas. También hay diferentes bases de información para que busquen información si necesitan hacer un reporte. Pueden ordenar libros a través del sitio del Scholastic y eso se los entregan al domicilio. En general están buscando diferentes formas para que los estudiantes tengan las oportunidades de seguir participando y conectándose en la biblioteca.
I just thought of one more thing. I also have links to all of our student tech tutorials if students are needing help with technology and distance learning.
Ella también tiene enlaces para los estudiantes que necesitan información con la tecnología, necesitan ayuda. Ella les puede dar esos enlaces a los alumnos para que sepan que en la biblioteca también les pueden apoyar para conectarse con alguien que necesita algo de la tecnología, puede ser la computadora o el internet.
Thank you.
Y dice gracias.
Next slide. And now Miss Christy Rangel, Mrs. Lizette Rodriguez, mental health clinicians, and Mrs. Faith Contreras, school psychologist, will talk about mental health services for our students.
Thank you. So within Selma Unified, we have one large district mental health team, and it consists of 3 mental health clinicians, 6 psychologists, and Jeter, the therapy dog. We're providing ongoing support to students, families, and staff. Counseling support is provided in guideline with our existing district mental health referral process. So if you have students who are in the elementary schools or at the middle school, you are going to be contacting the school psychologist for referrals. At the high school, you can contact a teacher who will then get the referral process going to our learning directors, who then channel it over to us. And right now, I'm actually at the high school 5 days a week. And so we've been processing referrals within a 36-hour time frame. Within Selma Unified, the 3 mental health clinicians, we're providing therapy services through telehealth. So we use the different formats and the platforms of Zoom, Google Meet, and through the phone. We provide weekly and daily check-ins. Individual and group services are also offered. And we work and offer support to staff and administration, and we provide resources to teachers when support is needed. We're also providing trainings as requested as well, and we're constantly collaborating and consulting with community support agencies, which are also here tonight, and you'll hear more about their programs. And we provide innovative approaches, interventions to build connections to support our students and staff, along with creating social emotional learning lessons. Right now at the high school, we have a program which is really great, and it's up and coming with our leadership class. And Ms. Contreras is actually going to speak more about this, but it's called Bear Talks. Go ahead, Ms. Contreras.
Afternoon, good evening, everyone. Like Christy was saying, we're in the process of developing our Bear Talks with our leadership students who are wanting to end the stigma and inform students of resources on campus that they can reach out to when they're having trouble. And along those lines, we are also creating a website that will have those resources available for students. It'll be student friendly. And we just recently sent out a survey to students to gauge what their needs are and what resources they would like to see as well. And all of those will be put on the website too, so that students can access that. And yeah, I think that's about it. Let Lizette translate.
Okay. Muy buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Lizette Rodríguez y yo soy una de las terapeutas que trabaja aquí en el distrito de Selma. Hoy quisiéramos brevemente hablarles sobre nuestro equipo. El equipo de salud mental consiste de 3 terapeutas, 6 psicólogas y un perrito llamado Jeter, que también es parte de nuestro equipo. Este equipo es responsable de proveer servicios de salud mental a estudiantes, familias y dar apoyo a personal del distrito escolar. El apoyo de consejería se proporciona de acuerdo con nuestros servicios existentes. En las escuelas, las primarias, todas las primarias en Abraham Lincoln, le recomendamos que se comunique con el administrador de la escuela o la psicóloga de la escuela. En la escuela secundaria, comuníquese con los maestros, el director de aprendizaje de cada grado, o con la psicóloga de la escuela, que es Faith Contreras. Las terapeutas de salud mental del distrito de Selma hemos estado brindando servicios de terapia a través de Zoom, Google Meet y por teléfono. Los servicios son prohibidos diariamente y semanalmente. Los servicios son prohibidos individual y en grupo. Ofrecemos apoyo a personal, administración, brindamos recursos a los maestros cuando se necesita apoyo y colaboramos y consultamos con las agencias de apoyo de la comunidad para hacer referencias. Y unas pocas de esas agencias van a hablar después de mí. Proporcionamos intervenciones innovadoras para construir conexiones y apoyar a los estudiantes y al personal. También nos gustaría compartir que la secundaria está trabajando en conjunto con estudiantes a crear una página de información para estudiantes, familias y cualquier persona que necesite información de los recursos disponibles. Hubo una encuesta que fue mandada a todos nuestros estudiantes indicando qué tipo de información les gustaría tener más disponible, y esa es la información que se basará la página la que están creando. En la página esa también pueden mirar que nuestros nombres y nuestra información, si tienen preguntas o si quieren comunicarse con nosotros sobre cualquier cosa. Muchas gracias.
Next slide. Now, Mr. Wayne Dixon, Director of Pupil Services, will speak about attendance, homeless, and foster youth services.
Thank you very much. So when we're looking at attendance, if we can go on to the next slide, we have a lot of staff here to support our students. We have our teachers, our mental health clinicians, our classified, and our administrators. So again, attendance is a priority every day. We're asking for students and the parents to treat the distance learning the same as in-class, in-person instruction. If a student's going to be absent, parent needs to call, so if they're not logging in. If you're having issues with connections, calling the IT help desk and contacting the school and letting them know when you're having connection issues. We can go on to the next slide there.
If it's okay, I'd like to translate.
Oh, sorry.
Next slide. Okay.
Sorry, Nancy.
Yo voy a traducirle para el señor Dixon. Él es el que se encarga del programa aquí para todos los alumnos de los servicios, de los alumnos del distrito de Selma. Y él está hablando ahorita de la asistencia, que es algo muy importante. Aunque los alumnos no vengan en persona, ellos necesitan meterse a las clases en sus sesiones del Zoom o el Google Meet, lo que utiliza el maestro. Eso es algo que hagan todos los días los alumnos, y si van a estar ausentes, es importante que usted como padre llame a la escuela y se comunique con la señora Hayes, la que se encarga de la asistencia, o la señora Festra. Ella habla español, y dígale la razón por la cual su alumno no vino, porque van a haber consecuencias, como que si lo mismo si estuviéramos viniendo en persona a las clases. Si los alumnos no se presentan, ustedes como padres necesitan saber, porque van a ser ustedes los últimos responsables por si no vienen sus alumnos, pero queremos ayudarles y darles más información de cómo es que ellos pueden meterse a las clases, y ¿verdad? Si no tienen problemas, que contacten aquí a la escuela o al departamento del distrito de tecnología, si es algo que ellos les pueden ayudar.
And so these first two bullets, you know, again, if students are not in school, they're not attending regularly, they are not going to do as well. They're not going to have the reading skills or the math skills that they're going to need in a lot of their classes. And also is that, you know, as we talk about the socialization with our students. So they need to be there, and it builds a habit that good attendance will carry them into college and careers. Lack of attendance also will lead to poor grades. And this third bullet's the big one. poor grades will affect your going forward to graduation, but also your absences. And please correct me if I'm wrong on this one, but it's 240 class periods of absences, 9th through 12th grade, will keep you from going through graduation ceremonies. And some of our students are adding up a lot of class period absences right now because they're missing class periods during the distance learning. And those are going to have to be made up through Saturday schools. And it's really going to have an effect, especially with our seniors. So we're wanting to make sure that they're attending every day.
Okay. Aquí tenemos información muy importante acerca de la asistencia. Dice que si sus hijos no se presentan regularmente, no están perdiendo, ¿verdad?, en lo académico de la lectura, matemáticas y, ¿verdad?, eso va a afectarlos en el futuro. Si es que van a estudiar una carrera o van a ir a la universidad, pues entonces no van a tener buenos hábitos. También si no se presentan, eso va a determinar las calificaciones. Obviamente si no se meten en línea a las clases, entonces no están haciendo nada del trabajo y van a tener malas notas. Y otra cosa es que si otra que es muy importante, la tercera cosa que él dijo, es que si los estudiantes quieren graduarse aquí de la high school, ya cuando estén en el grado 12, si tienen más de 240 periodos de ausencia, ellos van a tener que ir a las clases del sábado para recuperar días de ausencia. Y entonces es muy importante ahorita que ya ellos estén presentándose para que no sigan acumulando tantos días y periodos de ausencia y en el futuro van a tener problemas si es que quieren participar en la ceremonia de graduación aquí en Selma High School.
And we want everyone to be very clear. So by law, students are supposed to attend school regularly. And so students with poor attendance, the school will be contacting them and having meetings, but they will also be required to attend a SARB meeting. And SARB is our Student Attendance and Review Board. Today we're meeting with parents, calling them, informing them of where they stand on their students' attendance. And if we don't see an improvement with their attendance, the parent and the student will be cited. And by citing them, we're saying basically you're required to go to Fresno Superior Court and appear before the judge in SARB court. Not where we want to go. We want to work with parents to improve attendance, have the students in class. We don't want to go to court, but if we see that attendance is poor, that will happen.
Okay. Esta también tiene otras cosas que él dijo de la asistencia. Si la asistencia es muy mala, puede llegar a algo que se llama el acrónimo del SARB, que es cuando hacen una reunión en el distrito, porque si vemos ahí, en la primera cosa que tenemos que, por ley, es requerido que los alumnos vengan a las clases regularmente, aunque no sea en persona, ahorita se tienen que meter en la computadora. Si tienen un récord muy malo de la asistencia, entonces el señor Dixon ahí en el distrito los va a requerir que vayan para una reunión para hablar de la asistencia, que cómo es que le podemos ayudar a su alumno para que se meta. Y si no mejoran la asistencia después de esa reunión que tienen con él, allí en el distrito, entonces van a haber consecuencias. Ellos los van a referir para que puedan ir a la Corte Superior de Fresno y allí los pueden citar no solamente a los alumnos, pero también a usted como padre. Entonces van a haber consecuencias legales. Y no queremos que llegue a ese extremo, por eso tratamos de contactarlos temprano cuando sabemos que ya vemos problemas con la asistencia.
And you kind of see this information on our other slide, also on attendance. So any questions about attendance, you can call your school site, or you can also contact the Pupil Services Office. I have 2 community liaisons that I work with that go out and do a lot of our home visits and work with our families. That's Mrs. Esperanza Uresti and Mrs. Hilda Puente. And so, or myself, you can contact us at the district office.
Si tienen, ¿verdad? Preguntas acerca de la asistencia, dudas, una inquietud, pueden contactarlo a él en el distrito, el señor Dixon. También tiene dos personas que le ayudan, ellas hablan español, la señora Oreste y la señora Puente. Ellas también han ido a las casas para checar en los alumnos que no se están presentando o metiéndose a través de la computadora a las clases. Entonces, queremos que ustedes sepan que si hay ayuda, si necesitan algo, pueden contactarlos. También ahorita vamos a hablar de servicios que se les dan a los estudiantes que están como en el proceso de que no viven con los padres, y se llama foster en inglés, casi como que quizá alguien nos está adoptando por el momento, y también personas que no tienen un hogar, quizá se encuentran sin casa y están viviendo con otras personas. Vamos a dar más información en las siguientes páginas.
We just, this one's just one bullet on this one. So when we talk about foster youth, we sometimes get parents, actually their guardians, saying a family member's dropped off with them, so now the child's in foster. So we have to define a foster youth is actually a child that was placed into foster care, and they'll have a county or a county appointed social worker, and they also have to have an active case with social services or with the courts.
Okay. Aquí tenemos solamente algo de información, pero para que ustedes sepan de cómo se sirve esto. Alguien que si considera a alguien que está en el programa del foster, como le digo, que no está viviendo con los padres, temporalmente los ponen con otras personas, o pueden llamarse tutores, y los estudiantes en esa situación también tienen una trabajadora social y necesitan tener un caso activo para que les puedan seguir ayudando a los trabajadores sociales. También a veces tienen que ir a la corte, cosas así. Entonces eso es como alguien puede ser considerado alguien que no está viviendo con los padres, pero está viviendo con otra persona temporalmente.
And on this slide, we're going to go to the next because we have the same information after our homeless. So we can go into our homeless youth. So again, we're here to help. And I'm not going to read all this, but we're all here to help. And with our homeless youth, we're here to provide assistance with their education and making sure that their educational rights are adhered to through the McKinney-Vento Act, which is a protection for our homeless youth.
Okay. Aquí él está diciendo de las personas, los alumnos que no tienen dónde vivir, quizá se encuentran sin hogar en este momento, la familia, algo está pasando, que están pasando por una etapa muy difícil. Entonces, ¿cómo podemos ayudar? El señor Dixon quiere ayudarles a ustedes y para que sepan que hay servicios para ustedes. Y así hay asistencia si le notifican a él. Y, también él quiere que ustedes sepan que sí hay derechos para sus hijos. Si se encuentran en esta situación de educación, y por ley los tenemos que seguir a través de, aquí dice información, de un acto que les da, ¿verdad? Derechos a los alumnos si se encuentran en esa situación.
And later in this presentation, we're going to hear about some of the great things going on in Selma that is being offered to our homeless citizens and our homeless youth. In education, we do define what is homeless is different than what the government or the what we call HUD would define youth or homeless. So somebody who's living with another family, so it'd be like two families are living together and it's because of a financial situation. They can be doubled up or tripled up. So that's 2 or 3 families living in the same home, again, because of financial situation. They could be living in a temporary situation where we really think of our homeless. They could be living in a motel temporarily, living in a car on the streets or in a park. But we also have what we call unaccompanied youth. So a student that may not be living at home, they may be, the term is sometimes couch surfing. They're living with somebody for a few days and then off with another friend. So they may be considered as unaccompanied youth. And so we also identify them as being homeless. And again, all determinations of whether they're homeless would be made by the community liaisons or by myself.
Okay. ¿Cómo es que alguien puede considerarse que no tienen un hogar? Aquí en el distrito, esto es cómo se determina eso. Y últimamente el señor Dixon y la señora Oreste y la señora Puenta son los que ellos dicen esta persona sí califica o se considera una persona, un alumno sin hogar. Primero, si el alumno y su familia están viviendo con otra familia o varias familias, ya que quizás no hay suficientes ingresos en el hogar, eso se puede considerar que no tienen, ¿verdad?, un hogar fijo. Si temporalmente están viviendo en un motel, en el vehículo, en un parque, es algo que también se considera que no tienen un hogar los alumnos. Si el alumno no está viviendo en su casa y está viviendo quizá con amigos, un día se duerme con un amigo en la casa de él, otro día se va a otra casa de otro amigo, entonces se considera que un joven que no está acompañado, no tiene a un padre allí presente y también puede calificar para esos servicios.
And being homeless, some people think, oh, no, I'm not homeless. Just in a situation right now that we need help. And that's why we're here to help. And if you are needing that assistance, again, please ask.
Y otra cosa que él quiere decir es que algunas personas dicen, no, yo sí tengo un hogar, no estoy, de verdad, sin hogar. Pero él quiere que ustedes sepan que hay aquí apoyo, que, ¿verdad?, se sientan a gusto, cómodos, pidiendo la ayuda, porque para eso está él allí, para darles ayuda si es que la ocupa.
And then our final slide is, for our homeless and foster youth, we do provide a lot of assistance. Some of that is in services. Some of it is actually in school supplies and other materials. As a homeless or foster youth, there's immediate school registration. So if someone comes into our district and they're homeless or foster, they're immediately enrolled. They may be missing some records or immunizations, birth certificates. We get them enrolled, providing them assistance, and then work to get those materials. They automatically qualify for free school lunch, breakfast, the supper program also. We have school supplies, so we have a number of backpacks. We're preparing to hand out some more supplies here in the near future. We've got backpacks, binder paper, binders, pencils, markers, the things that they'll need for school. And we let the schools know that if there's other materials they need, just let us know and we can get those. We have transportation assistance. So a homeless youth, they may become homeless and have had to move to a different area of town. We provide transportation. So we're going to have that transportation assistance. We also help families with paying for transportation. If they, let's say, have moved to Parlier and are needing to transport, we help them. We have hygiene supplies that we provide for the families. We're getting ready to start working with the Fresno County Superintendent of Schools, helping our students with the FAFSA. So there's special instructions for our homeless youth and our foster youth in completing that so that they qualify for that financial assistance from the government for their education. We do referrals for graduation, for community resources. And then our students that are juniors and seniors can qualify for a graduation credit waiver if they've been in 2 or more schools after their second year. So during their junior year they move, or their senior year, we can help them in qualifying to get the California graduation requirements complete and getting their diploma that way.
Okay. Aquí esta es la última información que tiene el señor Dixon de qué tipo de asistencia se les dan a los alumnos. Ellos les ayudan con diferentes materiales que van a ocupar los alumnos durante el año escolar y para que puedan tener éxito en la escuela. Vamos a suponer que alguien viene, se encuentra en esa situación de que no tiene un hogar, ¿verdad? Y entonces lo que hace el señor Dixon y todos aquí los directores, los consejeros, lo que hacemos es que automáticamente registramos a los alumnos, les damos sus clases, aunque falten ciertos documentos como el acta de nacimiento, diferentes récords de dónde viene, en cuál escuela, necesitamos que el alumno entre ya a las clases. Entonces eso se hace automáticamente. También el almuerzo que se les provee aquí no se les va a cobrar, va a ser gratuito. Mochila también se les regalan a los alumnos con todos los útiles que van a ocupar, papel, lápices, pluma, todo eso. Va a haber asistencia de transportación. Si un alumno se tuvo que ir a otra parte de la ciudad de Selma, va a ir un camión para recoger a los alumnos, traerlo a la escuela y también cuando se terminan las clases van a dejarlos a el hogar donde se están quedando. También si ocupan cosas para la familia de la higiene, se le va a proveer eso. El documento de la FAFSA es algo muy importante para que les den ayuda financiera a los estudiantes del grado 12, ya que ellos van a solicitar entrada a las universidades. Y también se les pueden ayudar si es algo que van a ocupar a los alumnos cuando están en el grado 11 y 12, si no tienen suficientes créditos. Hay una solicitud que se llena para que puedan graduarse con menos créditos, pero eso es algo que depende de cada caso y si califica el alumno se tiene que ver varias cosas para ver si sí califican para eso, pero en fin, hay muchos recursos que se les dan a los alumnos que se encuentran en esa situación.
And Mrs. Esquez, thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome.
Next slide. And now Mr. Mario Alvarado from the Upward Bound program from Reedley College will talk about that opportunity for our students.
Hi, everyone. My name is Mario Alvarado, and I work with Selma's Upward Bound program, and we're based out in Reedley College. And so we're a program that works with students who are college bound, who really provide service. We provide a lot of services such as academic advising, college readiness, money management. We do provide high school credits with courses that some students take in our summer program, which I'll talk about in a second. We provide college admission guidance, tutoring, allow students to hear from different guest speakers. We also encourage them to take a college class in the summer while they're with us in our summer program, as well as different tours to different colleges and universities throughout the year. And so just wanted to go back to our summer program. Our summer program is a 6-week-long summer program that occurs every year. It's our highlight of the year. All those services that I just mentioned are services that we provide in the academic year, but during the summer, our students are at Reedley College, and 2 out of those 6 weeks, they live in the dorms for 2 of those weeks, which our students love. Every Friday, we go on a different field trip to, a different college or university, or last year we went to California Adventure. This year, obviously, we're providing all of our service in a virtual format, and so we're still providing all the services that are just mentioned on there, but again, all virtual and on Zoom, and so we really haven't skipped a beat with that. We do have a few eligibility requirements. The first one being that students have a minimum GPA of 3.0. Second, that they be first generation and or low income, which is based off of a chart that we look at and is that's determined also by the Department of Education. And then that students be a U.S. citizen or permanent resident. And so just a really great program for students to be a part of. We've had lots of great students that have come through the program at Selma and really done some great things in their careers in college and as adults as well. So if you guys need more information, by all means, it's down there below. My email is mario.alvarado@reedleycollege.edu, or you can also apply to the program. But I would encourage you to email me just so we can set up a one-on-one appointment. Bienvenidos padres a esta noche. Pues mi nombre es Mario Alvarado. Yo voy a hablar un poco sobre el programa del Upward Bound. Nosotros trabajamos con los estudiantes de Selma High School, que están obviamente en la high school. Nosotros tenemos muchos servicios durante el año escolar. Unos de los servicios son tutoría después de la escuela, paseos y visitas a colegios universitarios, ayuda con aplicaciones de colegio universidad. También les ayudamos a los estudiantes con aplicaciones para ayuda financiera. Les damos diferentes talleres. También ofrecemos diferentes talleres para padres durante el año. Y el parte más favorito del programa es el programa de verano de 6 semanas, ¿verdad? Y ocurre durante el verano. Los estudiantes van al colegio de Greeley por los 6 semanas y de los 6 semanas se quedan en los dormitorios por 2 semanas, nomás para que puedan tener como sentir más la vida de un estudiante que está en el colegio, ¿verdad? Eso básicamente es el programa, obviamente un poquito corto, pero ahí tengo más información en la pantalla. Hay unos requisitos para que estén elegibles para aplicar. El primero, que el estudiante que tenga un promedio de calificaciones de 3.0. Segundo, que el estudiante sea primera generación o que la familia que venga de bajo ingreso. Y el 4 es que el estudiante sea un ciudadano de los Estados Unidos. Y esas son reglas que el Departamento de Educación tienen. Entonces, si gusta más información, ahí está mi correo electrónico abajo de la pantalla, mario.alvarado@greeleycollege.edu para más información, y muchísimas gracias. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you. Next slide, please. And now, Ms. Sonia Acevedo will talk about the All for Youth mental health services.
Yes, so Sonia will be doing the Spanish version, and I, Lola Violante, will be doing the English version. So we are All for Youth. I'm one of the intervention specialists that's assigned to the high school. We currently have 4 clinicians, 1 intervention specialist, and 1 youth care specialist assigned to the Selma Unified School District. All for Youth has a partnership with the Fresno County Department of Behavioral Health and Fresno County Superintendent of Schools, serving youth from 0 to 22 years old experiencing difficulties that affect them at school and home. Who benefits from these services? So those that have experienced stressors, loss, or trauma. This may include difficulty following directions, difficulty coping with problems, daily activities, having anxiety, refusing to go to school, feelings of sadness, hopelessness, outbursts of anger, and difficulty with behavior that may result in suspensions. These services that we offer include an assessment of the youth and family needs, individual or group counseling, linkages to community support services, case management, rehabilitation services focusing on coping skills, and also parenting skills. If anybody is interested or would like to know more information or would like to refer their child, they can go ahead and call the All for Youth main office in Fresno. That number is 559-443-4800. And one more thing that I would like to add is that in conjunction with all the professionals within All for Youth that are in Selma Unified, we also have access to psychiatric services for medication if need be, or additional resource. That's it. Sonia? Hola, buenas noches a todos los padres y a todos. Yo me llamo Sonia Acevedo, soy una terapeuta con el programa All for Youth y la señorita Lola es, platico poquita, ella es una especialista de estrategias para nuestros muchachos, nuestros jóvenes. El programa All for Youth sí es una asociación entre el condado de Fresno de salud mental y el condado de Fresno de superintendente de escuelas. Nuestro programa es poquito especial o único porque sí está diseñado a estar en la escuela, ¿verdad? Donde los estudiantes pueden recibir los servicios ahí en la escuela o platicar con los padres para que pueda ser un tiempo que sea mejor para los papás. Nuestro programa reduce ese obstáculo, esa barrera que a veces las familias pueden tener, que se sientan que no tienen transporte, no tienen tiempo, ¿verdad? O algo que no puedan pagar, cosas así. Eso es algo único de nuestro programa. Yo quería platicar poquito de cómo usted pueda saber si su hijo o su hija puede beneficiar de nuestros servicios de Offer Youth. Una de las cosas de notar es que si el comportamiento de su hijo o de su hija está, donde ellos están teniendo dificultad con sus emociones, ¿verdad? Es posible que tengan berrinches o que sean desafiantes, ¿verdad? A donde ellos están rezongando en exceso, donde no están haciéndoles caso, no están haciendo sus quehaceres, ¿verdad? Cosas así. También si su hijo o su hija tiene dificultad con sus amistades sociales, donde ellos no tienen amigos o amigas, no tienen un grupo de apoyo afuera de la familia, si siente usted que su autoestima de su hijo o de su hija está bajo, también es algo donde pueden beneficiar de nuestros servicios, ¿verdad? Y no tienen ellos ese grupo de apoyo, también no se sienten ellos bien de ellos mismos, ¿verdad? Si tienen como dificultad con lidiar con sus emociones, también es otra cosa que vemos. Si ustedes ven que son agresivos, ¿verdad? O gritan, se van de la casa, no prestan atención a las reglas de la casa, también es otra cosa que vemos nosotros también. Si ustedes ven que su hija o hijo o hija son ansiosos, ¿verdad? Y tienen dificultad con concentrarse y tienen su apetito está bajo, tienen problemas con dormir, ¿verdad? Con concentrarse en la escuela, especialmente ahorita. Si ustedes ven que también tienen depresión, ¿verdad? O donde no están disfrutando las cosas de todos los días, o sea, cuando salen como familia, no están comiendo, ¿verdad? No están platicando con ustedes como lo hacían en el pasado. También si ustedes ven que no tienen motivación para cumplir su tarea, para entrarse a las clases, si han tenido pensamientos de querer lastimarse o querer lastimar a alguien más, a ellos mismos, si hay conflictos entre la familia, ¿verdad? Donde no se llevan bien con otros miembros de la familia o con otra persona. Y también si la familia está pasando por dificultades del dinero, ¿verdad? O con todo lo que esté pasando ahorita, también pueden ellos beneficiar de nuestros servicios. No siempre es verdad que algo esté malo con ellos, que esté, en nuestra cultura, ¿verdad? No es normal a veces que las personas agarren servicios de salud mental, pero como les digo, es una lista que pues a veces los estudiantes están yendo por un tiempo difícil, ¿verdad? Y nosotros pues yo como la terapeuta es mi trabajo poder ver qué está pasando en la vida del estudiante y cómo podemos nosotros apoyar al estudiante, apoyar a los padres también. Y también a estar en comunicación con los maestros, ¿verdad? Son los tipos de servicios que tenemos en All for Youth es pues terapia individual de salud mental, ¿verdad? Yo le llamo las pláticas, así le llamo yo. Lo que se dice collaterals, son pláticas con un miembro de la familia, estar en conexión con ellos y a ver cómo podemos enseñarles estrategias o maneras de poder manejar el estudiante o poder manejar sus síntomas que están enseñando. También tenemos servicios de rehabilitation, no sé cómo decirlo, pero es a donde Lola, que está con nuestro distrito, ¿verdad? En Selma Unified, trabajaría con el estudiante para enseñarles estrategias, ayudarles con diferentes maneras como relajarse, cómo poder cambiar un comportamiento negativo con uno positivo. Y también tenemos servicios de alguien que puede manejar el caso. So, si vemos que la familia necesita referencias a otros recursos en la comunidad, también podemos hacer eso. Y la última cosa que sí ofrecemos es servicios de medicamento con nuestro psiquiatra. So, sí vemos que es algo donde puede beneficiar el estudiante de estar en medicamento. Sí es otra entrevista, ¿verdad? Pero sí tenemos nuestra psiquiatra en nuestro programa que puede trabajar con el estudiante. So, muchas gracias por su tiempo.
Thank you. Next slide. And now Ms. Maria Rodriguez will talk about services at the Selma Neighborhood Resource Center.
I'm a case manager for functional family therapy. I'm representing Selma Neighborhood Resource Center, which is a program of comprehensive youth services. Selma Resource Center provides direct services to the families, for example, helping families with Medi-Cal, CalFresh, CalWorks support, and EDD support, fax, print, copies, letters, translations, parenting classes, PG&E support, housing support, COVID-19 emergency resources, VITA free tax services for during the months of January through April. Right now, voting elections from October 31st to November 3rd. Also, under comprehensive youth services, we also offers other services like virtual coffee hours through the resource centers, case management, walk-ins, home visiting program, differential response, and functional family therapy, parent-child intervention, interactive therapy, Bright Beginnings for families, child abuse treatment program services, and supervised visits, which is court order visits. This program for Selma Resource Center, we usually have family advocates that unites with community members to offer information services to parents, education, and advocacy to residents and surrounding throughout the community. The Resource Center also offers many different types of services, including, like I said, case management. This allows the family advocate and the families to work closer one-on-one on the one-on-one basis by conducting home visits if it's needed to accommodate families. Also, the staff offers, like I said, coffee hours to support parents groups, to help families expand their knowledge with information, presentations, and provide safe place to make connections with the families. Also, another program, as I mentioned, it's the home visiting program. The home visitation program It's a voluntary and optional program for CalWORKs recipients. These programs, it's evidence-based program through the Healthy Family. Parents as the teachers, and evidence-based curriculum is used to provide the child development education to parents. A home visitor usually provides services such as parenting education for pregnant, new parent, or guardians with children under the ages of 5 years old. They provide weekly home visits. They are conducted with families and plan for self-sufficient and is created. During the home visits, screening and development assessments are conducted, and children who are enrolled in the program is designed to encourage parental involvement and create appropriate goals for the family. As a home visitor, you must be cultural and competent with interacting with the family from various beliefs. Also, through comprehensive youth services, we do have the program Functional Family Therapy, which is one of our programs. We do provide mental health. It's a family therapy. Anybody can apply for this program that is between the ages 11 and 17 before they turn 18. Its services are free. It's paid by Medi-Cal, so clients have to, the appointed client has to have Medi-Cal, and anybody in the family can also participate as well. We can provide services. As of right now, we do provide sessions, telehealth sessions, which are through phone or video conferences. Anything else? I have one of our supervisors here, Joanne Wiley.
Hi.
She is the supervisor for the functional family therapy. Do you want to add anything else, Joanne?
Well, we want to make sure that we get them our referrals so that they can refer here. We'll be sending that over to the Neighborhood Resource Center, and so that they will make sure that it's everyone in Selma will have a copy of it.
Also, we do have Bright Beginnings for Families, which is called BBFF. This is a program that provides parent-child interaction therapy with the children's ages of from 0 to 7 years old and their parents or guardians. Usually, the case managers travels through Fresno County. We provide services at home and in the office. BBBFF does require some transportation of clients to the CY office when families come to receive services here. We also provide transportation, and we also provide child care for the children that are not participating. Okay. Ahora, buenas noches, padres. Les voy a decir este programa. Mi nombre es María y soy manejadora de casos del programa de terapia familiar. Estoy representando el Selma Neighborhood Resource Center, que es un programa bajo Comprehensive Youth Services. Aquí en Selma, en el Resource Center, damos servicios directos para por ejemplo, apoyo de medical, ayudándole cómo llenar sus formas, también para CalFresh o CalWork, soporte para el departamento de IDD, que es del desempleo. También les podemos ayudar mandando fax, impresiones, copias, traducciones de cartas, clases de padre, soporte de PG&E, de las utilidades eléctricas, apoyo a la vivienda, También recursos de emergencia para COVID-19 y evita servicios de impuestos gratuitos durante los meses de enero a abril. Hasta ahorita también tenemos las elecciones de votación. Podemos ayudar, estamos ayudando desde el 31 de octubre hasta el 3 de noviembre. Los programas que tenemos aquí en el Comprehensive Use, en la agencia de Comprehensive Use Services son horarios de café virtual también. Manejo de casos, clientes sin citas pueden venir a visitas al hogar, respuestas diferenciales, es también un programa y terapia para la familia, functional family therapy, terapia de interacción entre padres e hijos y brillantes comienzos para las familias. Es otro programa. El programa de tratamiento para el abuso infantil. También damos servicios de tratamiento para de visitas supervisadas e intercambios ordenadas por la corte. Yo represento al programa de terapia familiar. Este programa es por todo para todos los residentes que califican del condado de Fresno bajo medical. El cliente necesita tener entre las edades de 11 a 17 años antes que cumplan 18 y todo esto es cubierta bajo medical. Ahorita por el virus, el COVID, las sesiones se ofrecen por teléfono o por video. Tenemos un referimiento que podemos mandarlo o pueden recogerlo también en el Selma Resource Center. Gracias.
Next slide. Thank you. Now, Dr. Ronald Dominguez will talk from the Valley Health Team. We'll talk about health care for our Valley residents in our Selma.
Oh, hi there. Good evening. Thanks for having me. Yeah, I want to talk a little bit about Valley Health Team. We are a federally qualified health center. We have sites mostly in Fresno County and one site in Clary County. We are full scope family medicine, so we provide medical as well as behavioral health services. On the medical side, we do everything. We do routine annual exams, we do vaccines and immunizations, we do sports physicals, and then we manage chronic diseases such as asthma, diabetes, eczema, other acute issues, lacerations, sprains, and broken bones. I think now with COVID, we've seen a huge increase in people using our behavioral health services, and it's been a huge change in just the way we conduct everyday life. You know, the way we work, the way students are going to school, even things that we did on a routine basis, just eating out, going to the movies, things like that. That's all really changed since March. And I know kids in general are very resilient, but it has put a lot of pressure, I think, on kids, and we're seeing more kids as well as adults using our services. So the stresses are there, the level of anxiety or depression is there, and we're seeing that every day. We do have services. When COVID hit, most of our services went virtual, either by phone or by computer or cell phone. We are offering services face-to-face, mostly on the medical side, but our behavioral health services are still virtual at this point. And I'll pause for a minute.
Okay. Voy a traducirle al doctor Domínguez. Él tiene información importante para que todos ustedes sepan. de los servicios que se le pueden proveer a los jóvenes. Y él tiene aquí diferentes exámenes que pueden dar, puede ayudar con diferentes cosas que ocupen los alumnos, diferentes enfermedades, el asma, diabetes, otras enfermedades crónicas, la nutrición, diferentes servicios como el de comportamiento, de la salud, vacunas, si van a jugar un deporte, los exámenes físicos. También ha hablado algo del virus, el coronavirus pandémico, ha afectado cómo ellos, ¿verdad? En la comunidad médica trabajan con todo. Ha dicho que aunque los alumnos son jóvenes, ellos pueden, ¿verdad? Salir adelante rápidamente. La mayoría que si se enferman, ellos tienen un sistema inmunológico muy bueno, entonces eso es lo bueno para los alumnos. Pero también ha dicho que a los alumnos, a los jóvenes, él ha notado que el virus ha puesto mucha presión, ansiedad, depresión a los estudiantes y eso es algo que ellos han notado y quieren darle servicios a esos estudiantes que se sienten así. Ya que estamos en la pandemia, los servicios se les dan virtuales normalmente, por teléfono o la computadora. Si es necesario que vayan en persona, pues pueden ir, pero eso es algo que él ha notado. También tiene información de diferentes pasos para que puedan ellos tener un mejor mantenimiento de vida, de beber mucha agua, hacer ejercicio, comer bien, alimentarse, y a la mano derecha vemos los diferentes lugares, las clínicas donde ellos pueden ir para recibir ayuda a todos los estudiantes.
So we don't yet have a site in Selma. The closest site we have is in Kingsburg, and we have a site in Danube. So those would be the two closest sites to Selma. And actually, our Selma provider is a graduate. Our Kingsburg clinic provider is a graduate of Selma High, as I am. So as far as being a federally qualified health center, we receive funds from the federal government, and because of that, we are definitely open to seeing patients of any financial status. So there is no need to have insurance. Most of our patients have Medi-Cal, but we do see a significant number of people that don't have insurance, and so we do have a sliding scale, so payment can be made based on your income. The lowest amount that someone could pay would be $30 for a visit, for a medical visit, but for a behavioral health visit, it would be $5. Up to $5 a month would be the lowest amount. And again, it depends on the income level.
Él ha dicho que aunque aquí no tenemos una clínica en Selma, las más cercanas donde pueden ir estudiantes que viven aquí en el pueblo sería en Kingsburg o en Ninuba. Allí en Kingsburg, el proveedor, la persona que trabaja allí, se graduó de la escuela aquí de Selma High. Entonces, eso es muy bueno saber. También ha dicho de diferentes tipos de ayuda que ofrecen ahí en las clínicas, porque algunas personas quizá no tienen aseguranza, no tienen medical, no se le va a rechazar a nadie, dependiendo de los ingresos que tiene la persona, se les va a cobrar. Puede ser bajo como $5 o $30, pero todo depende en los ingresos del individuo, los padres, ¿verdad? Cuánto dinero ganan. Pero queremos que todos sepan que sí hay ayuda y no nadie se le va a negar la ayuda.
And quickly, we do receive referrals directly from schools, from school mental health staff. Parents can definitely self-refer and make their own appointments directly with the clinic. And we also just want to make people aware that sometimes students aren't always forthcoming with how they're feeling emotionally. But a person can make their own appointment and consent to behavioral health services if they're over the age of 12, they're 12 and older, without parental consent. So we have that occur sometimes, and we make every effort to notify the patient's parents. Of course, we have to obtain consent from that student in order to do that. But for the most part, we try to make sure that the whole family unit is involved, especially when it comes to behavioral health services.
Algo importante también que ha dicho el doctor es que ellos reciben de todas las personas que trabajan aquí en el distrito que ayudan con la salud mental de los alumnos, pueden referirlos para que les den servicios a los alumnos allí en las clínicas donde él trabaja. Y también dice que a veces algunos alumnos no quieren pedirles ayuda o no quieren decir que necesitan ayuda. Entonces eso es algo que también tenemos que entender. Y inclusive ha dicho que una persona, un estudiante de 12 años, puede recibir servicios aunque los padres no sepan. Eso es algo que se les brinda a los alumnos. Si quieren ayuda pero no saben que los padres, no quieren que los padres sepan que están pidiendo ayuda. Pero él trata de que toda la familia esté agarrando la ayuda para que puedan salir adelante todos juntos.
Okay. I don't know, is there a link to our, I don't know if there's a link to our website. If not, I can give a phone number.
Okay. Él puede dar el número de teléfono.
Yeah, so if you call this phone number, you can reach any of our health centers. It's 559-595-1000.
Okay. Aquí está un número de teléfono para comunicarse con las clínicas de donde él trabaja. El área 559-595-1000.
Thank you.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you so much. And now we have Ms. Olivia Rico from the Turning Point Mental Health Services for Children, Adults, and Families.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Olivia, and I'm here to give some information about Turning Point Rural Mental Health. So we are an outpatient mental health clinic. Our focus is to work with minors and adults who are struggling with mental health illnesses that are moderate to severe. And for example, in some of the minors, we work very closely with, most of our minors are either, dealing with serious emotional disturbances, ADHD, severe depression, anxiety, and other disorders. And some of the parents are also struggling. So for our adults, we work with patients who are diagnosed with schizophrenia, major depression, bipolar, anxiety disorders, PTSD. So the services we provide, it's for the entire family if needed. But those are like the main focused services and diagnosis. We do provide, if you can move on to the next slide, please. We do provide psychiatric evaluations and medication. We provide medication education, case management. We do home visits as needed, especially right now during the pandemic. We make every effort to go out to the homes. And case management is something that we're really for in order to support the families, the therapist, and the psychiatrist. We provide individual and family therapy. Right now, our groups are actually on hold because of the pandemic, but we do provide group services, and that's provided in all of our clinics. We provide supportive housing placement. We work with agencies to get our clients placed if they're homeless, and if they need, even to relocate. We also provide skills for social, educational, and employment. So these services are provided to the individual, but also, if needed, to the family. Next slide, please. So how do you obtain services? So there are several ways of you obtaining services. One is you contact the closest clinic, and I'm gonna, you guys are gonna have a list of the clinics that we have. We have 7. We're about to open the 8th clinic in Mendota. You contact the clinic in your area. You don't need a referral from your doctor. You don't need a referral from the school, but you can definitely get a referral from either the school or the doctor. So if you are the parent, reach out to us if you have concerns. If you're a minor over the age of 12, and if you're struggling with mental health, please reach out to us. Just like the doctor mentioned in the previous with Valley Health Team, there is services that we can provide to minors if the parent does not consent, and we work with social services agencies to get a minor's Medi-Cal if needed as well. So when you do provide, or when you do seek services with our clinics, we will ask initially for basic demographic information. And then after that information is obtained, one of the screeners in our clinics will be contacting the parent, the guardian, or even if it's a foster parent. We will be contacting them and we will be doing the screening. If the minor does not meet criteria with us, because our focus is moderate to severe illnesses, then we will link them to another provider. We've in the past linked them to United Health Centers, All for Youth, or we refer them back to the school. But there will be some sort of linkage and connection where the client is not, or the family is not left hanging. So that is part of the services that we do provide. And right now with the pandemic, although most of our assessments are done over the phone, we do accommodate patients that are dealing with psychosis or who have a very difficult time getting assessed over the phone. For example, children who are actually experiencing ADHD behaviors. And we have clinicians that are willing to go into the clinics and do the face-to-face evaluations. So that is something that we are accommodating due to the need of the client. And that's, in the meantime with the pandemic. So let me see here. The next slide, I believe it provides you our contact info. This number will reach all 8 clinics, and as if you call, just say, hey, can I speak to the Selma clinic, and they will forward you to the Selma clinic. The next slide, let's see here. So that's the listing of all of our locations, and I do hear that there is patients or students who actually live in Parlier, and they have access to Selma services or Selma schooling services. So we do work with Parlier in either linking them to the Selma clinic or the Reilly clinic, or at times even the Sanger clinic. So they do have multiple options at that point. But those are our clinics, and we do try to get in clients as soon as possible within a 10-day period to get assessed. That way services can and the support can be provided to the families. Let's see here. The next one. Okay, so buenas noches. Mi nombre es Olivia y estoy con la agencia de Turning Point Rural Mental Health. Nosotros somos una agencia de salud mental que se enfoca a dar tratamiento para pacientes menores de edad y adultos. Los tratamientos para los menores de edad son si tienen disturbios emocionales graves, trastornos de hiperactividad, depresión, ansiedad o otros trastornos. Nuestro enfoque es dar servicios para pacientes que tienen síntomas moderados a muy severos. Por ejemplo, para los adultos, tratamos a pacientes que tienen esquizofrenia, depresión, bipolar, ansiedad, estrés postraumático y otros trastornos. Nuestro enfoque es ayudar a las familias a saber manejar los síntomas, a saber cómo ayudar al menor de edad o a un familiar que esté pasando por un momento difícil. Nosotros damos servicios psiquiátricos. Tenemos el psiquiatra que da para menores y para adultos. Tenemos trabajadoras sociales que van a visitar a casa. Damos terapia individual y también familiar si es necesario. Damos ayuda de técnicas de cómo manejar los síntomas para mejorar ya sea el trabajo, la vida social, la vida familiar. También nos enfocamos en grupos. Ahorita por la pandemia, desafortunadamente no podemos tener grupos en las clínicas, pero cuando la pandemia pase, vamos a restablecer los servicios para las clínicas de grupos donde los jóvenes o adultos pueden pasar o tener grupos de cómo procesar los síntomas que ellos están pasando de su salud mental. A ver, un momento. Can you go to the next slide, please? Es cómo pueden obtener servicios. Nosotros tenemos 8 clínicas en el condado de Fresno. Y ustedes pueden llamar directamente a la clínica más cercanas a ustedes. No ocupan referencia de su doctor, no ocupan referencia por parte de la escuela, aunque si ustedes van al doctor o los niños están en la escuela, ellos también pueden tener una petición, nos pueden mandar la petición para servicios, pero ustedes pueden llamar directamente a las clínicas que le quedan más cercanas y dar información general. Información es información demográfica general. Después, uno de nuestros trabajadores les habla para verificar si el paciente va a calificar para nuestros servicios. Nuestros servicios son especialmente para pacientes que tienen síntomas moderados a severos. Y si en caso de que no califiquen con nosotros, los servicios, ustedes los conectamos con otras agencias que dan servicios menos intensos que los que nosotros damos. Nos pueden hablar a la agencia a la clínica que les quede más cerca. Y se me hace que, let me see the next slide. Había hablado de los servicios que ofrecemos. También ofrecemos servicios para vivienda. And let me see the following slide, please. Estas son las clínicas que tenemos. La más cercana sería en Selma, la que está en Selma. Después, si viven en Parlier, tenemos clínicas que están alrededor de Parlier que también ofrecen servicios. Pueden llamar a este número y se pueden empezar los servicios. Tratamos de dar servicios o hacer la evaluación no más de 10 días para empezar el tratamiento. Si tienen alguna pregunta, por favor llámenos. Si sabe que alguien está pasando por un momento difícil, contacten a los consejeros de la escuela o pueden contactar a su doctor o llamarnos para pedir servicios. Gracias.
Thank you so very much. And the next presenter will be Ms. Delvina Vasquez from Selma Community Outreach Ministries. And they have spiritual, physical, and emotional support for individuals and families.
It's on mute.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. I hear an echo too.
Let me take care of the back end echo here. Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much. So thank you for the opportunity to talk to you guys a little bit about Selma Community Outreach Ministry. Selma Community Outreach Ministry has been in existence since 2014. And I don't think we have the PowerPoint maybe that we sent. Is there a way I can share my screen?
You could possibly, as a presenter, you could share your screen.
Okay. Let me try. Okay, are you able to see that?
Yeah, it says you started sharing. So we could double click to enter. There you go.
Wonderful. Okay, so I'd just like to give you a little bit of what our mission is. And when we first began, as you can see, this ministry began with me feeding people out of the back of my car. The couple that you see there were actually meth addicts and had been meth addicts for quite some time. And so our ministry began as a calling from the Lord, and as feeding people just out of the back of our car. Since then, we have developed into quite a bit more than we ever could imagine. So right now, our goal is to develop a community of caring partners to help those affected by poverty and drugs, homelessness, to build trust, developing, supporting relationships, and providing needed services to allow them to thrive and be productive members of society. And so we're really excited from where we were to where we are now. That's the same person that you've seen as a meth addict in the first picture. We've now helped. He is actually fully recovered and serving in the ministry. And along with us, he is willing to help carry the cross with us in this mission. So what is Selma Community Outreach Ministry's purpose? Well, the purpose for us in Selma is for us to help create linkage and provide resources for the communities that didn't exist before. In 2014, what was happening was there was no one person really providing resources. And so Selma Community became that link where we began to reach out and provide those resources. So Selma where everyone can access a decent, affordable housing, which is where we found there was much problems at, and supportive community by providing linkages and resources necessary for the individuals and families that was not just to survive, but to flourish. And I like to say thrive. So we help the people that need help in a Christian way. We help them carry that cross and that burden that they find themselves alone doing. Here you'll see one of the things that we provide to the community, to our homeless and community members, is we provide a hot meal every single day. We provide free clothing Monday through Friday, 11 to 1. And we also provide hygiene packs for all of those that have that need, especially our homeless members, or at times when we get families or domestic violence cases. We're able to provide these things Monday through Friday. They can come here and always receive a hot meal, some clothing, and hygiene package. We get this, during the winter time. The clothing is much more needed because, most of our homeless that are still sleeping outside get soaking wet. So they come here for some dry clothes, and we're able to provide that for our community members, families, and children. We also have a program called Hand Up Housing. That program was granted and started in January. And that program is a rapid rehousing homeless program offered to families, children singles, adults. It's offered to anybody. The requirement is that you are homeless and that you are from Selma. And so what we do with that is we are able to help a family who is homeless or individual with their first, last rent deposit. We're actually able to help them up to 18 months, help them pay their rent, teaching them life skills that as we decrease in pain, they increase. In other words, helping them with job opportunities. The individual you've seen here was just came out in the newspaper. We're super proud of Cami. She has had tremendous success. She came to us as a homeless individual, having had lost all her children. She is now completely housed. Her children are back. She's doing really well and working and even restoring her marriage. Great success. And that's one of the things that is our goal, to give them a hand up, not necessarily with the focus of a handout, but to help them thrive when they have fallen. They need somebody to help them get back up. So that is just one of the programs of the grants we have, and it's called, again, Hand Up Housing. It is a rapid rehousing program that we have here in Selma at our church, which is located at 1701 Whitson Street here in Selma. And so anybody who wants to apply for this program, and I know that most people will say, well, how do I, if I'm homeless, or if you have homeless families, how do we get them to apply? Well, they need to come in and we will do an assessment. And based on that we will see if they qualify for this program, which is an amazing program that we are very blessed to have here in Selma. What else can we help with? Well, to begin with, above all, before anything, we're an outreach ministry. So our goal is to reach the lost for Jesus. That's the whole reason we exist. But through that, we're able to offer housing opportunities, especially right now through the COVID time. We were able to receive funding through the Selma Super 8. We have a shelter there. And in order to go into that shelter, you have to be homeless, of course. And we try to keep everybody within their town. So if we have Selma residents, we try to keep them in our hotel in Selma. We have another hotel in Sanger, and we have places in Fresno. So we try to keep everybody within their town and house them, but there is a waiting list. And so we tell people, if you want to come into housing or you need housing, you need to come and put yourself on the waiting list. But here's the thing that always puts you to the front of the list, and that's if there's children involved. If there's children involved, then we will most definitely put those people to the front of the list and begin trying to make things happen for those children so that they can no longer be homeless, or at the very least stay in a hotel until we help them get into housing or link them to other services that can get them into housing. We also provide PG&E assistance through the REACH program, so we can help pay up to $300 of people's PG&E. Up until last month, it just changed. It was $400 because of COVID, but we're back down to $300. So we can help anybody once a year pay their PG&E. Again, we have the temporary hotel, and we also are the only organization here in Selma that provides shelter for positive coronavirus. So if somebody has a positive COVID test and need to be isolated, then we would be able to do that in our area that we have separate from everybody else, of course. We have 2 RV trailers that are set aside just for COVID shelter in place. So if we have a family that mom is positive and everybody else is negative, then we could shelter mom and provide meals for that mom until their quarantine is over. So we're able to provide that for anybody. We recently helped an 18-year-old who was positive and kept them shelter in place until his time was up and he was cleared. Again, we provide hot meals Monday through Friday, 11 to 1. And this is the time when people come and they can sign up for the emergency housing and to see if they can qualify for any other programs. We're also an access site here, so we put the information into a database and try to match the families to different programs, not necessarily just ours, but a program that they would qualify for to get housing. So we try to look at the entire picture and get them some help. We have clothing, hygiene packs. We link to other homeless shelters. We also link them to drug rehabilitation programs, which is really important. Sometimes we have parents that are homeless due to addiction or circumstance. So when we have a homeless due to addiction, we always make the offer for any kind of a program, and we try to make that link. Um, we make medical, not medical treatment ourselves, but we link them to medical treatment. We link them to mental health. And we also link them to, for instance, if you have a phone call from a client that says, hey, I'm 4 months behind on my rent and I don't know what to do, I want to go homeless. We usually will take those clients and we link them to resources that we have available that will help them pay their rent up to date, up to, I want to say the limit is about 4,000. Pay up to 4,000, because we would rather deal with them before they become homeless than when they become homeless, because it is really hard to find housing in Selma. So we try to prevent that as well. And we have resources that we're able to tap into. There are actually referrals that we do that we're able to tap into. And we also help navigate the clients, and of course do diversion. Diversion is just where we're maybe trying to see, is there another way we can help you that's not housing, relink you up to a family family member, maybe your parents, or maybe you're originally from Idaho and you need a one-way ticket back. We also will assist in those type of things to try and prevent people from being homeless. And one thing, actually, let me go back here real quick. And I forgot to mention, when I sent this, I realized that I had forgot to enter one thing on here. And that is that we actually provide a food distribution here at the 1701 Whitson Street in Selma every single Friday. It is a semi-truck of food. And we probably right now feed about 10,000 people in Selma. And we currently actually send food out to other communities because we have so much food. So if there is ever a need for the school or anybody that says, you know, I've had calls from the school in the past where they say, hey, I have a family member or somebody that needs food. There is always food in the house of the Lord. So, you know, if you have a need for that, we try to always make sure that we have food on in-house, and also that we provide a massive amount of food every Friday. I always tell people, look, if you come here, most likely you don't even have to buy groceries. We have so much food that we give. That includes milk, eggs, cheese, meat. So it's all of your basic needs, and plus and vegetables, fruit, and in some. So we do provide a big amount of food to every community member. And they don't need to bring anything. We don't ask for documentation. We just ask for their name, their phone number, and that's only for the sake of if there's any change in the schedule, that we could call people and let them know, hey, there's a change in the schedule. For the most part, it's every Friday at 10:30 for food in the community. We're probably the biggest food distribution in Selma. So we have plenty of food that you can refer to. And last, my phone number, my email, our webpage is selmacom.org. My email, this is my personal cell phone that I give out. People say I'm crazy because I give out my cell phone, but I tell them Jesus pays the bill. So everybody has access to it. And I try to always answer my phone. Granted, people say, well, I called and called and called. Well, just keep calling or text me because I do get a lot of calls, but I do try and call everybody back. And I'm thinking, am I going to have to do all that in Spanish, or is my translator going to? Now, Nancy, do you want to translate that, or do you want?
That was a lot of great information, and we're going to have this presentation. It's recorded actually, and we're going to have the link. So yeah, I think we just have a lot of information. We still have another presenter. So
Okay,
we're gonna,
we don't need to do the Spanish.
yeah, you know, it's available for everybody there, and you shared your info. So if they need to contact you, they could reach us. They could even email me. I'll put my email here in the chat if they want to get more information about that. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Now we have Officer Ryan Swain from the Selma Police Department. He's going to talk about information regarding online dangers.
It's on mute.
Hi there, I'm FTO Swain with the Selma Police Department. Ms. Richardson, were you able to include my slides, or do I need to share my screen?
They're included.
They're
okay.
included. We just have to have Ms. Aguiano get that up again.
Okay.
How did that go? Okay. What happened? You talked to her?
Ms. Aguiano, are you?
Let me see if I could go ahead and share it. She was here.
I'm right here. I'm trying to share it. I don't know if I can see it on my screen, but I don't know if you guys are able to see it.
Let me see if I can share mine, okay? This is the last one. Do you guys see something?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So
yeah, perfect.
Present it from here. So this is Officer Ryan Swain, and then he's the last presenter, and afterwards, Ms. Richardson's just gonna wrap up the presentation.
Okay, perfect. I'll go quickly and just try and give everybody a brief rundown on what we can do during this time of distance learning and being maybe in or around or on technology more than we usually are. So if you could give me the next slide, please. So for anybody watching this in the future or anybody watching it tonight, the one thing I want you to leave this presentation with, my presentation with, is to speak with your children about their online activity. You know, it doesn't have to be much, but just try and have a heart-to-heart conversation and try and discern a little bit more about what they're doing online. As we're going to discuss in just a few minutes, we're in a time of increased internet exposure, which just gives people more opportunity to either be victims of cyberbullying or, you know, attempted internet predators. You name it. The internet's like a big city, and it's not very difficult to find yourself in trouble on it if you're not careful. Next slide, please. So just a brief disclaimer. I'm going to go through this quickly. It's tough to talk about safety on the internet without talking about a few certain subjects. None of them are going to be inappropriate for a Zoom meeting. However, they're heavy subjects. Like I said, we're going to be discussing mental health issues, cyberbullying, and then a high-level overview of how minors are exploited on the internet. Next slide, please. So the first thing I want to discuss is social media or the internet and its use and its association with mental health. And interpreter, let me know if you need me to pause so you can run through it, or if you just want to hold off on the interpreting. It's totally up to you.
Yeah, we're gonna post this, like I said,
okay.
On the slides. So go ahead and share it. And I shared my email address there. If anybody would like it in Spanish, I'm happy to translate later on.
Okay. Perfect. So the reason I'm going to touch on mental health before I move on to the actual crime side of things is that you know, police officers, when students aren't in school or around the resources that school can bring, police officers and the resources that we have are usually the first line of defense when it comes to mental health crises. So it's something that we see, and as a law enforcement, we're here for your child's safety, regardless of what it's from, whether they're having mental health issues or whether it's to prevent them from being a victim of a crime. There's actually been a pretty big link that psychologists are studying regarding a connection between social media and mental health. So as children's social media use increases, we've seen increased rates among teens and tweens of depression, self-harm, and suicidal ideations. Next slide, please. So this is just a brief graph that I found. It shows you see around 2012, there was a sharp uptick in suicide, self-poisoning, major depressive episodes, and depressive symptoms. And this graph is specifically among young girls and women. So if you think back to about 2012, that's when young kids started getting the internet in their pocket on their cell phones 24/7, and were instantly available to access social media essentially whenever. The next slide, please. And then I think there was one more graph in there. It might be the next slide. There we go. So, and then this graph just shows how social media use hours per day can increase depression among boys and girls. And then back to the previous slide for me. So some possible causes for this that psychologists are looking at are going to be the limitation or displacement of in-person social interaction. So the more time we spend on our phones, the less time we spend with our friends, the more depressed we get. It's interference with sleep, and the increased exposure to cyberbullying. So cyberbullying is a legitimate concern and a risk, and it's something that you need to talk with your children about. Unfortunately, depending on the conduct of the bully, it may or may not be a crime, and that's something that if you're concerned about, come speak with us. But more often than not, I find that it's not a crime. It's just people being mean to each other on the internet. The best way to limit that or to get rid of it is to not be on the internet. Take away that power from those people and limit your exposure to that. This last thing is going to be the self-harm information that's available on the internet. Which kind of encourages, the ease of access when it comes to information regarding those things, make curious kids want to try it. So if we could go forward 2 slides, please. The last thing I want to talk about is social media and physical safety. So I'm just going to give you guys a really high level overview of how criminals target children on the internet. So over the past few months, with the increase in kids being online due to online schooling, local law enforcement agencies have conducted several major operations. You can see them, I've listed out on the screen. Fresno County Sheriff's Office conducted the COVID chat down operation, which led to 34 arrests here in Fresno County, and then north and south of us as well. Tulare County Sheriff's Office did something similar, which resulted in 13 arrests. Kern County with 15 arrests. Next slide, please. So with this increase in exposure to social media because kids are stuck at home, we have an increase in opportunity for internet predators to target children, right? If your child was walking down the street and a random person approached them and started talking to them, it would not be okay. I've responded to calls where something like that's happened before, and people are rightfully unhappy. That's not an acceptable social behavior. Yet stuff like that happens every day on the internet. And it's difficult to spot because we can't really see it if we don't know what our kids are doing. So typically predators will portray themselves as minors. They'll target children on social media. And they'll usually portray themselves as members of the opposite gender. They'll try and create a friendship or some sort of online relationship with the minor and then attempt to persuade the minor into situations where they can be taken advantage of, whether it's meeting somebody in person, sending inappropriate pictures, things can devolve from there, but those are some of the early precursor symptoms that you'll see and things to look out for. Next slide, please. So my big takeaway, other than have a conversation, is just consider monitoring your child's internet use. Talk with them about who they're talking to, what they're doing, and the websites that they're going to. Pretty much every internet and cellular provider offers some sort of parental controls, either to prevent them from accessing information or to allow you to view what they've done after the fact. Outside of parental controls, just make an effort to pay closer attention to what they're accessing and who they're talking to. I would say a good rule of thumb, if you haven't met the person, if you haven't met the person they're talking with in person, they don't need to be talking with them. Anybody can be anybody they want on the internet. And when it comes to law enforcement and our side of things, it's a lot harder. It requires a multi-agency cooperation to track people and to catch people that abuse the internet. So yeah, if anybody has any questions, feel free to reach out to the police department. I'm here every week, so.
Thank you, Officer Swain. So, yes. So once again, first of all, I'd like to thank all our presenters very much for being willing to spend time with us tonight and give us valuable information. And I'd like to thank the folks that attended as attendees. Thank you for attending this webinar. And we hope you found it informative. To access the resources discussed in the webinar, along with other valuable resources, you just need to visit the Selma High School website in the future. It's actually posted there, and we will post this this webinar there as well, so you can access it at any time if you want to go back and look at some of the information. So I would like to take this time to tell you to have a great rest of the evening, and that you're staying safe. So thank you again for attending. Thank you, presenters. Thank you for attendees.
Buenas noches a todos. Gracias por venir aquí virtualmente. Vamos a poner todos los recursos en el sitio de la escuela. Ahí va a haber un enlace para que puedan ver la presentación y la lista de las organizaciones que presentaron esta noche. Gracias y adiós.